Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be learning how to solve percentage or percent problems in a real world context. So we start with our bar, which is representing really the percentage. It's the whole amount, percent out of the whole amount. So the whole bar is representing essentially 100. Okay, and this problem is what is 30% of 90? So the whole bar, 100%, is going to give us 90, and I want to know what 30% of that is. So you can see that then we divide the bar up into 10 equal sections because 10 times 10 would give us 100. And I know if the entire bar is 90 and I have 10 sections, 90 divided by 10 gives us 9. So each of those sections is going to represent 9. But I want to know what is 30% of 90. So 30% would be 3 times 10, or 3 of the bars. And so if I repeatedly add 9 plus 9 plus 9, or 3 times 9, I get my answer. 30% of the whole amount is 27. So if the entire bar is 90, 30% of that, 3 of those chunks would equal 27. So that's looking at percent with parts as a percent. So what this looks like, an example would be a problem like 120 is 60% of what number? So we don't know what the whole number 100% equals, but they're giving us part of that percentage. They're giving us the 60% we know is 120. So when I make my bar model, remember the whole bar represents 100 and I have it divided into 10 sections. I don't know the whole amount, but I do know what 6 of those sections represent. 6 times 10 gives us 60. So we know that 60% is 120. And so 120 divided by 6 helps me to know or see that each of those sections would represent 20. And if I filled in my entire bar, those 4 missing sections I know would also represent 20. So I can fill those in, and 4 times 20 we know is 80. So if we start with what we know is 120, we fill in those missing pieces is 80. 120 plus 80 gives us our answer, 200. So 60% of 200 is 120. And that's how our bar model works. So let's get into some more practice problems so you can practice using it. Okay, we are going to start here with number 1, and we're going to use the bar diagram to find the percent of a whole. So all of these problems on our page are out of the whole amount. Now, if you've never done percents with a bar diagram, that's okay. And if you were feeling a little confused as I was just going over it, that's why we have to practice, and that's why we're going to do some together. So what is 20% of 150? So remember, this 150 is the whole amount because we're doing a percent of a whole. So this whole entire bar is going to represent 150. And I want to know what 20% of that would be. So since a percentages are out of 100, okay, 2 of these bars would represent 20%. So if I have 150, I know is what the entire amount is, and I know that there's 10, they're divided into 10 even spaces because 10 times 10 gives us 100, and all percents are out of 100. I would do 150 divided by 10, and then I know that each rectangle space is 15. So I'm going to write that in, 15. 15 times 10 gives us 150. So the whole amount is 150, and I only want 20%. So I only need 2. So 15 plus 15 tells us that our answer is 30. 30 is 20% of 150. Let's do another one. We're going to do number 2. So remember, this is percentage of a whole. So find the percent, 35% of 60. So the whole entire bar is going to represent 60, okay, and I want 35% of that. And so I'm going to think of it like here's 10, 20, 30, and then half of 10 would be 35. Okay, so let's think if the whole amount is 60 and I have 10 bars, 60 divided by 10 would mean how much do I have in each bar? I would have 6. So I have 6 in each bar, and that is showing me my whole amount. 6 times 10 is 60, and the whole bar is representing percentages are out of 100. So 10, 20, 30, and then it's 35, and so 5 is half of 10, and this whole bar is 6, right? So we remember if the whole bar is 6, but I only want half of it, okay, 3 and 3 still make 6. So and then I'm highlighting what 35% is. 35% is 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 3. Or you can think of it as 6 times 3, which is 18, plus 3 more gives us 21. So 21 is 35% of 60. Just like with anything, doing a percentage with bar models, you just need to do some practice to really have that light bulb moment and see how these bars are showing us 100. So we want to remember that all percentages are fractions. It's the percent over 100, and we're using a bar model. This one single bar with 10 groups is showing us 100. Okay, so the whole amount, this value is 100. Okay, and so we're going to say that we know 45 is 75% of what we know. So let's show what that is visually. So first let's get 75% here. So here's 10%, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and then 5% is going to be half of this one. Okay, so what I have in red here is showing me 75%. And we know what that amount is. It's 45. Okay, and if I just divide it by 7.5, okay, because we're saying each of these is representing 10, right? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, because we're talking about a percent, then I'm going to divide by 7.5. Just like we did over here, we divided by 6 because I had 6 bars, right? So the 6 bars, this is 75%, but I'm dividing by the 7.5 bars that I'm using to represent it. Okay, so 45 divided by 7.5 equals 6. So that tells me the value of each of these bars is 6. Okay, and if I check my work, it should equal 45. So 6 plus 6 plus 6, oh, I could just do multiplication instead of repeatedly adding all of these up. 6 times 7 is 35, and then oops, not 35. 6 times 7 is 42, and then 42 plus 3 gets me to 45. So I was right, okay, 45. And then now we need to figure out, it says of what number. So we want to know what this whole amount is. We need to find the other 25%, okay, which is going to be represented here. Okay, this 25%. Well, we already know a lot. We know that each of these have to be 6. Okay, and that's going to be 3 because it's half. And so 6 and 6 is 12, and 12 plus 3 gives me 15. So now I know that this representation is 75%, and it's the number 45. And I want to know what the whole amount is. So I can simply add 45 plus 15, and I get 60, and that's my answer. 45 is 75% of what number? 60. And if you want to check it, go ahead and do it. What is 45 divided by 60? You get 75%. One here, 18 is 30% of what number? Okay, so remember percentages are fractions, and this is giving us our visual diagram representing tens. Okay, so each bar is representing a tenth of the whole amount. Okay, so that's how I can quickly identify that these 3 bars are 30%. Okay, and that 30% equals 18. So if I have 18 and I'm using 3 bars to represent that 30%, I can do 18 divided by 3, which tells me then that there are 6. The value of each bar is 6. Okay, and I want to know the other 70%. What is the rest of this whole amount? Because it says what number. Okay, so I'm going to fill in my 6's for the rest of the amount. And there's 7 of them. Okay, and we know that 7 times 6 gives us 42. Okay, so 70%, and I'll just redraw it here so it's nice and clear for us. 70% of this bar is the number 42, and 30% of this bar is the number 18. And so if I want to know what 30% of what number, it's this whole amount, I can add 18 plus 42 and I get 60. So my answer is 60. Okay. So another way to say it is 18 is 30% of 60. So that's our answer, 60. Okay, we covered a lot of information today solving percent problems in a real world context, and we went over 2 different methods. So it's okay if it feels a little overwhelming or like it's a lot at first. Remember that nobody gets anything on the first try. It's about putting in those reps, showing up. Consistency always wins. So if you need to, you can pause the video, take your time, redo it. You can re-watch the video, redo the problems. Practice is what's going to help you solidify that understanding. Also, you can check out these other 2 videos to help you better understand percents and ratios and what that looks like in application. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.